So we need to have a talk about media in the macro sense and what exactly is going on with media. Now, this specific example here is one of Kyle Kulinski of Secular Talk. Really has nothing to do with Kyle or Secular Talk or anything like that or anybody in specific. More so, we're just talking about it in a macro sense. And we have to talk about, what is going on in terms of who's at fault for clickbait and these kinds of things in terms of videos that are specifically, you see videos that are very clickbaity, non-substantive based, getting many, many more views and attention and clicks than actual substantive stories. Now, the mainstream theory is to blame the media instead of people and say, oh, well, the media is only covering those kinds of stories that get a bunch of clicks and a bunch of views and stuff like that, right? And so I'm gonna answer the question a bit in terms of like whether or not that's legitimate or not. But someone posted this to the Secular Talk subreddit. He said, makes me sad that the important topics, I like how he capitalized that randomly, get a fraction of views. And so Kyle had a video, it's titled Kanye Goes Full Nazi, Makes Alex Jones Uncomfortable. At that point, it had 251,000. This ended up being a viral video for Kyle, which I don't know when the last one he had was, but this is really viral. It's almost 500,000 views, so it really blew up. I think he was probably very timely on the video upload. And so this, the other videos in question in the list are Supreme Court case could legalize election rigging. I believe that's Moore versus Harper and the independent state legislature theory, which is I guess the state legislature could just say, hey, fuck everything. We're going to elect our own electors, which is crazy stuff. Because then a state like Arizona or whatever, the legislature, loony right-wingers could just be no, all of the votes we had, we're just going to choose our own electors. It's bonkers. 18,000 views. 4-day work week comes to the United Kingdom. Obviously, another big workers issue. And productivity of labor shows that 4 days is much better than 5 because although you're working less time, you're more productive, right? This is the fall of the Soviet Union, right? Not enough productivity, right? That's what capitalism is supposed to be all about, right? Productivity. So 4-day work week is better than 5, of course, right? Important issue, 18,000 views. NYT finally calls to free Assange. That's 10,000 views. And so, obviously huge issue as it pertains to freedom of press and, that kind of thing, right? Super important, protecting whistleblowers. And so you can see this kind of thing where it's holy guacamole. I mean, I don't even know the percentages on that, but, it's 200% more views, more than that. And it's Kanye West, I'm just waiting for the Kanye news cycle to just die because it's gotten annoying at this point where it's just Kanye. And I know I've done some videos on it, but I don't plan to make any more unless something really, really crazy happens, I guess. But that's where all the views are right now. Right now, if you're not making Kanye, Tim Pool, whatever, this kind of crazy shit, videos on that, you're just basically not getting views on much of anything. And you can look at any of the other channels or any news source you want. The stories that will get more coverage are the clickbaity ones, the one that are least substantive, the one talking about Kanye or whatever. And so the question is kind of okay, well, whose fault is that? So the mainstream theory right now is it's the media's fault because they're the ones chasing the clicks. And so they're not going to search for this kind of stuff. But me personally speaking, as somebody who is obviously part of media, right? If I do a video talking about inflation, specifically getting into the weeds of what's causing inflation, versus supply chain versus the switch of supply demand from goods to services and drawing graphs and whatnot and stuff like that and monetarism or whatever, right? That kind of video is going to get way less views than something about Kanye and Tim Pool or even a video talking about Bernie Sanders, right? There's different levels to this, right? There's the full clickbait, which is the Kanye thing or whatever video talking about, someone like that, right? Versus a video maybe covering some news story about Trump or whatever. And then there's something actually really fully substantive, which is really an actual economic breakdown and analysis or maybe I don't know, a philosophical breakdown of something or just, those kinds of videos that I'll put up. They'll get way less views. And so it puts pressure on people in the media to, put out these videos that are getting views, especially because really the pressure, a lot of it, obviously media has to perform well, right? Like myself, I have to, perform up to a standard. But also you can look at the Secular Talk subreddit, for example, nonstop, how many posts there are on a daily basis. Why is Kyle stagnant? Why are his views stagnant? Why are subscribers stagnant? What's going on? So the people putting the pressure on them to actually get these views and subscribers and stuff are actually the viewers themselves. It's not even necessarily the media themselves, right? A lot of times it is the people watching in the first place. And so you put them in a position where they feel like they have to constantly be getting more and more views. Otherwise, you're not doing well, or you're falling off and you're bad and this. And I think all of our society just kind of puts all of its value on things like fame, numbers, money over quality content and actual information and that kind of thing. So anytime you start talking about anything serious in terms of like, philosophy or a priori or like a posteriori and all this other kind of shit, right? It's like no one's going to want to hear that. Nobody's going to want to hear about comparative advantage. You're like, what? What's comparative advantage? What is a monopsony? You're like, what? Like, shut up, dude. I don't want to hear this crap. People want to hear about, Kanye goes Nazi. He made Alex Jones uncomfortable. Everyone's clicking. I think it's honestly a lot of it. I don't know what the exact blame breakdown is, but now that I've noticed from being in this perspective, from being from this position, I can tell you that a significant amount of the blame does deserve to specifically go on the viewers, as opposed to the current theory, which solely puts the blame on media members, because it basically puts the blame on media members to basically say that, oh, well, you guys are just the ones who want clicks and money and stuff like that. But nobody watches or reads any of the stuff that's actually legitimate in terms of substance or seriousness, as can be seen by this video. And that's why. So it's like when a show does like a show about climate change, for example, the views are going to tank. Like if MSNBC or whatever does a story on climate change, it's going to tank in terms of viewers. And then the reports are going to be, look, MSNBC is tanking. And then advertisers are going to want to get less. And then you get more and more of this general sense and like this reputation that MSNBC is failing. And then it causes it to fail even more. And so it's like, a lot of the issues actually come on the viewer level. And so what I recommend is, if you are a viewer, start to actually try to consume content that's more substantive, watch more substantive news stories, news analyses and coverages. And so one of the tricks now, I guess, is like I'll have to do a video about something, talking about something, maybe it was like the crystal ball Bill Maher video, right? If you go watch my video I did on that, there's so much economic information I put in there. It's like 27 minutes, like drawing out like supply demand graphs, aggregate demand, like SRAS curves, like crazy amounts of shit. Okay, so that's kind of becoming the strategy now, where it's like you have to wrap like the pill inside of cheese. Because the cheese is like some kind of drama video or whatever, clickbait garbage that people want to eat up, and then you have to put like the substantive stuff inside. Like that's how embarrassing viewers have gotten to this point, where it's like you have to do that. Like you have to mask the actual substance in those kind of videos. So if you are a viewer, start to watch videos that are substantive, that are actually good content based. Don't just click on, like, try to avoid these kinds of stories about Kanye or whatever. Try to like control yourself and try to use your viewership wisely, because ultimately your viewership is going to reflect itself in what the supply is. Your demand of a good is going to reflect itself in the supply of the good. If the demand is there for the good, the supply will be there. Okay, it will be there. So if you lower your demand for that good by lowering your preference for that good, the supply will recede. And conversely, if you start watching a video talking about how the Supreme Court case in, Moore versus Harper could legalize election rigging, and, the Arizona state legislature can just vote for whatever, whatever's elector slate it wants to just rig elections entirely, those kinds of videos will be more out there. And I think that, honestly, I would say in the past, you can look at like PBS and a lot of that kind of stuff that they had. It was a lot more, there was a lot more higher quality content before, whereas now it's all just straight clickbait and all of this kind of stuff. So, I don't think that it's fully on the media entirely when we talk about why is it that, they're covering clickbait. You guys want the clickbait. That's the only thing you watch and read. And so you force these media outlets like a Secular Talk or a CNN or whoever to cover those stories, because that's the only ones that people care about and click on. So I think that if people were to become more interested in substance, intelligence, knowledge, information, like actually learning about the details of like, inflation, for example, and the different potential causes, and like, what it means for, demand curve to shift right and supply to shift left, what that means for the like equilibrium price level or whatever, like that kind of stuff, right? Like, cost pull inflation or whatever, that kind of stuff, right? It's super, super important to prioritize those kinds of things. And so as viewers, you have a lot of power. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are down below on this. Very interested to hear them.